ESPN viewers to our international broadcast as we are live from Nashville Superspeedway. Gary Lee, Larry Rice. You see the pace vehicle starts to pull away. A number of cars equipped with onboard cameras. There's a look at the push-off for Thomas Scheckter in the Pennzoil Panther #4. There's a look at the #2 entry. Had a change of driver in that car for the last 2 races. Townsend Bell on the pole, car number 15, Larry Rice. No relation to you, but Buddy Rice, everybody asked you if that's your son. From the home of country music, it's the Nashville Indy 200 live from Nashville Superspeedway, the 3rd and final night race on the Indy Racing League schedule. And Buddy Rice continues to make sweet music for Ray Hall Letterman. This is his 4th start from the pole position this season. A 3-time winner, and his teammate Vito Mira, who he just did edge out 2 weeks ago, will be starting outside the front row, his best start on the season.
Yes, he's done a terrific job here in the last few races. He's going to be another one tough to beat here tonight.
Once again, the Ray Hall Letterman team occupying the front row. Buddy Rice, his 3rd pole or 4th pole of the season with 3 wins to go along with it. And Vito Mira, who's finished 2nd the last 2 outings, his best start of the season in the outside pole position. Best start of the season for Brian Herta, who starts inside row 2. His Andretti Green teammate Dan Weldon, 2nd in point standings, will start outside the 2nd row. In the 3rd row on the inside, Tony Kanaan, a 2-time winner and points leader, starting inside outside Darren Manning. In the 4th row, Dario Franchitti and last year's seasonal champion Scott Dixon. Move to row 5 on the inside. It's Sam Hornish driving his 1st season for Roger Penske and Marlboro Racing, and Thomas Scheckter, the best start for a Chevrolet powered car outside of row 5. In the 6th row, it's Elio Castro-Neves and Townsend Bell. Townsend Bell driving the 2nd race for this particular team. In the 7th row, we have the Fernandez teammates, Adrian, the team owner, and his teammate Matsura outside row 7. In the 8th row, Scott Sharp, his 90th straight start. He's won at least one event in every of the last 7 seasons. Jacques Lazier and Mark Taylor will occupy the 10th row, 9th row. In the 10th row, Felipe Giafoni, and Ed Carpenter and A.J. Foyt.
Well, they're going to get the green flag this time down.
I'd like to welcome Jerry Punch, Paul Page, to our ESPN broadcast here this evening.
Well, here's the race analysis. 200 laps. Buddy Rice on the pole. Gilles de Ferron isn't here. Critical thing is the pit window. 50 to 54 laps on fuel, but they're not going to go that far. 35 laps, 40 laps on tires is all these cars are going to go.
Apologize for that glitch. We're ready to go. Green flag is out, and they're started in the Firestone Indy 200. As from the inside, it's Buddy Rice who takes the lead. Herta tries to drop in 3rd, but Dan Weldon up alongside of him is not having any part of it. Onto the backstretch. Oh, and Mira goes flying for the lead. Now that's the front row you're looking at, though. Buddy Rice started on the pole. Herta was inside of row 2, Weldon in 3, Kanaan and Darren Manning in the 4th row.
Paul Mira has been fast since they loaded off the trailer here. Here goes Weldon around the outside of Rice. Side by side, they said this concrete track would not actually have a situation where they'd be able to actually run 2 abreast through here. A 1-line racetrack, they thought, but they're making liars out of it already.
Early move by Dan Weldon puts him now into 2nd place. And Kanaan, Weldon's teammate, comes up to work on Rice. So is that the way it really is, or have they decided in the Ray Hall Letterman team to split the strategy early on?
Well, you know, the biggest thing here with this new track surface, it's the only concrete track that we race on all year, so these guys have difficult getting setup information for their race car for this racetrack. Very difficult to make the cars have the tires last. Here goes Kanaan.
Kanaan moves to the outside of Buddy Rice, looking for 3rd place. That's Hornish sitting just behind Kanaan. Hornish coming forward, trying to get on the scoreboard for Team Penske. Remember, between Team Penske and Target Chip Ganassi, the defending champions, Team Penske the winningest in open wheel racing, they've only had one win between them.
Paul,
There goes Hornish. That's a nice move.
did you see how much more speed he had in the middle of the turn over Kanaan? Look at how high he is. They're riding these two abreast right now. We did not even see that in warm-up here earlier today.
Oh, but that's vintage Sam Hornish as they go side by side down the backstretch. But will it be enough? Jack Arute.
Well, the pole sitter, Buddy Rice, is dropping back, and I checked in with Scott Remke as to maybe why. As we see Rice slice through the field right now, and he said, we're waiting for the tire temperatures to come up. Scott, on this racetrack, as difficult as it is, you've got to be at optimum pressure. I don't know about these two guys. Their tire temps are up, though.
Well, Jack, you've seen a few cars spray out some sparks underneath it. They've got this new rule package now with those skids underneath, and you definitely can now see when the car is a little bit too low. That shower of sparks tells you that tire pressures, as you mentioned, are not quite fully up to where the optimum is.
Hornish and Kanaan continue their fight for fourth. By the way, we do apologize for the technical difficulties. Apparently a massive thunderstorm in the area of Bristol where the downlink is taken for ESPN, and that knocked the receiving satellite dishes right off the air. We're back. It's nice and clear here in Nashville, Tennessee for the Firestone Indy 200.
We're watching Kanaan chase Hornish right now. Hornish has improved 5 places. He started 9th. He's now running very strong, and seen that high line work for him. Watch him settle in here. He's led every race that he's run here at Nashville.
A little further back in the field, a couple of people just to tell you about while we watch this battle. Scott Sharp has dropped from 15th back to 19th. And there you're on board with him looking back in the field, and there's not much of it behind him. You see that spray of sparks as the skid blocks hit the ground on this concrete surface.
Now, as we watch on this onboard right now, just watch the tires actually float. Watch the suspension pieces down here. Go over the bumps. This track is, because of the concrete surface, very rough. These guys have a hard time setting up the race car to make this car work around both ends.
Another spray of sparks, yet another. Dario Franchitti. Now, this is his hometown. He lives here in Nashville. Yellow comes out. Dario's dropped from 7th down to 11th. So the caution flag for debris, first time in the race, and on this lap number 10. So the question that will come now is, given the problems that they might face with tire wear and the game on fuel mileage, trying to get your stint a little different than everybody else's, how many people will decide to pit? Right now, the pits are closed.
Well, maybe just a little bit too early. I think a lot of teams expect a lot of yellows tonight, Paul. Maybe from debris, or certainly they're going to be watching the tire wear right now. Now, a lot of guys sort of split. Some guys say we're not having tire wear issues right now. Some guys are saying, boy, I'll tell you what, we are certainly having some problems ourselves. So here we have to just wait to see what's going to play out.
Speaking of the debris, they've got it off the course. It'll take a minute, though, to get the field back under control. So let's check in with our pit reporters when we can and find out exactly what the latest is and what they are expecting through the run here in the Firestone Indy 200. And as you can see, a couple of folks getting ready to come into the pits. Jack Arute.
Well, one of them that won't come in is Vitor Meira. He is going to stay out with his Centrex car. But you're talking about the abrasive nature of this pit road. I mean, of this racetrack. Let's take a look and show you. This is some cheese. This is what happens here. It's not the tires. It's the way the concrete rubs the tires right off. What happens is this is called marbles. It gets up on the outside groove. As we get a little further into the race, you're going to see this come into play in determining who's going to win this race. You get up in the marbles, and it's over. Jerry?
And Jack, last week, Dan Weldon's crew dodged a bullet. They had a very rare miscue here in the pits, and these guys were very embarrassed about what happened. The car left pit road without having the fuel couple uncoupled, and it pulled the fuel tank over, and quick thinking here saved them from what could have been a severe disaster. They want to make up for it today. That's why you see Dan Weldon scooting out toward the front here early on. Let's check in with Jamie further up pit road. Jamie?
Well, Michael in the Target Chip Ganassi pit says that everything's good with Darren Manning. I said, what's he saying? He said he's actually happy for a change. Remember, he's the one guy spoiling the Honda party tonight. You know, it's always the Honda party up front. He's the first Toyota, so everybody's pretty happy in these pits. Keep your eyes on number 10. He's got that attitude. You better get out of my way.
Mark Taylor came through the pits along with Scott Sharp in the number 13 car. That one, of course, belongs to Greg Ray, who is the occupant of the cockpit. And then he decided Taylor would be a good man to take the wheel for him, and so now Mark Taylor has number 13. They're back to high-speed green flag racing in the Nashville Firestone Indy 200. Mira is still the leader. The two cars that you saw, Taylor and Sharp, are the only ones that took advantage of an opportunity to go into the pits. Order remains the same: Mira, Rice, Weldon, and Tony Kanaan, and Sam Hornick. Now here is the Indy 500 champion, Buddy Rice, Ray Hall Letterman Racing.
Paul, watch the hands here right now. You'll be able to see a lot of movement in the hands going through the turns. Some guys have a lot of movement going up to about 12 o'clock through the turns itself. Some guys maybe not so much. That tells you how different their car is working. The key thing that I'm looking at right now, his hands are very smooth in the wheel, tells me that his car is working very well for him.
Jack Arute.
Well, one of the things that's happened with Buddy Rice since winning the Indianapolis 500 is a certain semblance of patience. Buddy no longer goes out and tries to lead every lap. I asked him about that, and he said, look, we finally won the biggest race of my career. I don't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. I checked with Scott Remke right now about those tire temperatures. He said the car is running well, and Jamie Little, he says, when it's time, we'll go to the front and challenge our teammate.
Well, Jack, we just got word from Chip Ganassi himself. He said Scott Dixon is reporting he has no clutch. So when he does come in, they said they're obviously going to try to make an adjustment, but they're also going to make an adjustment on the front wing.
Scott Dixon currently running in 8th place. His teammate Darren Manning just in front of him. Though that'll be a hard thing to try and figure out how to fix. It seems that normally if the clutch is gone, it's gone.
Clutch, Paul, all you use it for in the race cars today is actually when you leave the pits, to press the clutch, select a gear, and then off you go. You no longer use the clutch to change gears. So right now, the only time there's going to be problems for him is during the pit stop. Once they know that, maybe they'll be able to overcome it.
Chip Ganassi on the right, owner of Target, Chip Ganassi Racing. Obviously, they're trying to figure out what they can do to affect a change that will help Scott Dixon. Dixon now under attack by Herta. You heard Jerry Punch mention Brian Herta at the start. Herta's looking very strong right now, though he dropped back a bit during the start and then came forward and now is back. So kind of wonder what's going on with him.
On board with Townsend Bell right now, you know, only his second race in the IRL so far, and a lot of these ovals are new to him. He got here, got around this race course, and he said, man, I can't believe how bumpy this race circuit is. When they came and made the circuit back in 2001, they did come along with a grinder, ground out the high spots in turns 1 and 2. And I told him that, and he said, you know something? I can't believe how bumpy it might have been previous to that.
Scott, remember at Kansas on the 4th of July, Townsend Bell made his first start, had a fire bottle go off in the cockpit. He had to go down the backstretch at 200 miles an hour, wiping the foam off his visor, then spun on pit road. We checked about that fire bottle malfunction. He didn't hit a wrong button. What the IRL has discovered is that when the federal government of the United States outlawed the use of halon, new chemical mixtures were mandated. Those chemical mixtures were being used from both England and the United States. It seems that the U.S. version, formulated for methanol fires, actually ate through the aluminum fire bottle itself, and that's what created the fire bottle going off. They have since used only the UK version of the mixture, and the fire bottle won't be going off today, hopefully.
Can you imagine how unsettling that had to be? It's one thing if you know that you just hit the button wrong, but another thing entirely to have all that stuff come spraying up from underneath. Keeping track now of Kanaan and Hornish. There's Tony Kanaan, the big gulp number 11 car. He's closing on his teammate, the number 26 of Dan Weldon, that red and white car. Sam Hornish is sitting right behind him. Tony Kanaan, current points leader in the series, but lately hasn't been able to get back on the podium.
Spoke to him, he said, you know, just yesterday we just could not find the speed for qualifying, although we think we have a very strong race car. Now, you know, winning the pole is one great thing for a driver and a team, but getting points for the race and taking home the prize check is what everybody's after. So I think a lot of these guys in practice and qualifying the last couple of days have had their eye on race pace, because this is such a difficult racetrack to run hard for 200 laps.
One thing that does make a difference in the championship is consistency and performance. Kanaan, the only driver to complete every racing lap this season.
Very impressive run. We talked about Hornish just a few minutes ago. That charge that he had on the start. Very aggressive driver, likes starts, he likes the restarts. He says, you know, that's the best time to pass people because everybody's bunched together.
Only third race of his career, Vitor Mira has led, but one of those was at Kansas, where he led 5 times. And we're here at the halfway point in the season. You know who your pick for who's hot and who's not, but who are the drivers looking at?
I think Buddy, for one, really. Buddy Rice and the Rahal team, you know, winning the Indy 500 was a big one for them, and he's been consistently up there.
You know, Buddy Rice is doing an awesome job, and I think, you know, I'm not surprised, but I think maybe some people didn't expect that.
I think Rahal's looking awfully good. I mean, the whole month of May just watching, and I'm really happy for Buddies.
Ah, well, then there you go.
I'd say probably us. We've been sucking it up pretty bad, so I don't know. We've been struggling. Also Penske, I think.
I think you have to look at Target and Chip Ganassi and look at our defending series champion. You know, Scott Dixon's been struggling a little bit.
I was expecting myself to be a little bit faster, but well, maybe I'm not that hot. What can I say? Maybe I will try to work out myself, be in shape, and see if I can be hot again.
When trouble calls.
Well, the caution lights just come on. It's for some debris up in turn 4. They have already actually run up and checked on it, got the debris off there, but the field now slowed behind the pace car. Johnny Rutherford, the driver. Yeah. And that means that we're going to have pit stops. In fact, it looks to me as if everybody is laid out for a stop. This is coming on the 36th lap of competition. It is the second yellow. There was a yellow at lap 12 for 2 laps, and that one for debris. As they come around now the...
Well, actually, underneath yellow, you have to follow the pace car and then come in off of turn 4. Right now, we got Carpenter that did not do that.
Jamie Little.
All right, guys, Thomas Schechter coming in. He's just going to make some tire changes. He's happy with the car. He's already moved up 4 positions. He qualified 10th. He's running in 6th.
And Jamie, Dan Weldon is here. They're going to make a half a turn of right front wing change. Now watch the right front tire changer, Mike Horvath. Mike Horvath will come across and make a wing change. Jackaroo.
No changes on Vitor Mira or Buddy Rice. It's a drag race onto the line. The little Brazilian is out first. He beats Buddy Rice.
Oh, Vitor Mira is hungry. He came rolling out of there. And then Sam Hornish got his nose into second place. Rice, looks like just a moment's hesitation was costly for him and dropped him back. So that's the first round of stops and clean for everybody. Going to take a look at how they came out. It's the camera right at the line on the exit to the pits. Mira, of course. There comes Hornish. Wow. Kanaan or Rice? I think Rice got his nose ahead of Kanaan.
Well, the neat thing about this is that the control up top will actually watch this, and they'll place the cars back in the position they should be in as they went over that line. Only during yellow will they reposition the cars. Underneath green, it's a free-for-all, and if you can pass, then you're free to do so.
Well, right now, as you can see from the shots, they still have Mira, then Hornish, then Kanaan, and then Rice. Remember Dan Weldon 2 weeks ago at Kansas City? It was a bad situation, coming into the pits for Dan, but a crew did its job right, and that paid off. Crew chief Mike Horvath changed the right front and then reached to adjust the front wings. Without looking, he waves the car out. Ventman Jim Moore gets tangled with a hose, his head now in front of the tire. Fueler Rick Campbell moves away from the possible fuel spray and then goes back immediately to shut the nozzle off. Bill Bates stays with the toppling fuel tank to push the fuel cutoff valve closed, while others move in to be ready to get Dan away from the disaster if necessary. So the team did a marvelous job and averted what could have been a disaster.
The key thing there is that the driver hears all the time, Paul, over the radio, okay, hold, and when he hears it's time to go, he'll go, go, go. And the key thing there is that he was told to stop movement going forward, and the key thing is that he stopped that possible disaster, as you talk about, dragging that fuel tank.
Yeah, and Jerry punched, but the guys jumped right on top of it and saved the day.
Exactly, Paul. Bill Bates was falling down, as you saw. All the guys were falling as the car was about to leave, and with their last breath before they fell to the ground, they grabbed that lever and did what they call the dead man valve, shut that off, and avoided a disaster. Now, Michael Andretti watched that over and over again this week, and when we showed it to him, he said, you know what I'm so proud of? The fact that these guys did exactly what they're trained to do. They knew that in an emergency, when something like it happens, they absolutely have to get their job done. And our guys did it, so I couldn't be prouder of this bunch here in Dan Weldon's pit. They avoided a disaster. It could have been a whole lot worse at Kansas City.
And so now the field circles behind the Chevrolet Pace truck. Johnny Rutherford at the wheel, Miro, Hornish, Rice, Kanaan. They've now got that figured out the way it looked as they actually came out of the pits and put Rice into third place. Honda, Toyota, Honda out of the top three.
Now, the key thing, when I see what happened here, you question whether Penske did a full fill because he knows there's probably going to be quite a few yellows. Just put enough fuel into it, maybe just to beat the rest of the guys up the pit, maybe a gallon or two less. He's betting that there's going to be a few more yellows, that he won't have to need those 2 gallons to make it to the next stop.
And least we forget, Penske with Gil DeFerrin won on a strategy just like that here last year. Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, you know, before the start of the race, all the drivers, all the crewmen, everybody was concerned about tire wear. We talked about the grader. I had the cheese. I showed you what happens. Buddy Rice, in fact, radioed in immediately after the pit stop, said, what about tire wear? Let me go show you right now. These are the tires that came off your leader, Vitor Meira. Take a look. These Firestone Firehawks really do perform, even if they've got to go up against a cheese grater. Everything looks good. Everybody's excited. I think we're going to see the pace pick up when they drop the green flag.
I think you just came up with a commercial line, Jack. Firestone Firehawk, the tire that beat the grater. This was yesterday, Scott Goodyear, on Buddy Rice's car during the fuel practice.
Yeah, you just look at the tire right now. You see a white line right there going around the tire. Actually, so much wear on that tire is going down to the cord. But I asked Buddy just this morning, I said, what was with that? He said, you know something? We ran so many laps on that. We almost tried to run 2 full stops on that. The tire worked perfectly.
Don't forget, coming up after our coverage here, the Great Outdoor Games on ESPN. I particularly recommend to you the large agility dogs, and of course the coverage by Jamie Little as well. Ready to come back to the green flag. Mira will lead them back, followed by Hornish, Rice, Kanaan, Weldon, and Manning. And they're saying no start. No start.
Now, Paul, as we go through turns 3 and 4 next time, when we're on board like we saw with that onboard on that restart, watch the sun coming down and settling right now. 3 and 4 goes towards the west. The sun is settling. These drivers are going to have difficulty seeing turns 4 coming out of 3 the longer we get into this race with the sun settling down.
Scott, what you guys upstairs really want to pay attention to is the 15 and the 11. Buddy Rice has just been told restart about a half a lane higher so that coming up through the gearbox, Tony Kanaan won't be able to get the position. We see a lot of passes on restarts. Now we're seeing some defensive driving as well.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that as we come back to the green flag. And we are green. Mira in the field answer it. Buddy Rice drops way down to the inside of Sam Hornish. In fact, goes very low and moves into second place. Here comes Kanaan. Kanaan goes to the inside of Hornish. And he's got him. And 2 cars getting way high. Schechter slows. That's Castor Nevis that came up behind him. Course continues green.
Now, one key thing possibly with there, maybe missed a gear. Very difficulty on these sequential gearboxes, but certainly lost power and drive to the rear wheels there momentarily.
Firestone telemetry on Thomas Scheckter, who continues to run slow, and I think surprising the folks behind it.
Well, there's also a thing going through the paddock just this morning. They found some problems with some Chevrolets having some spark problems or mechanical problems within their electrical box, so certainly that might have taken place here today.
Look at this group going through 3 and 4 right now. Part of that is because Scheckter, they all had to figure out how to get around him, and it really bottled everybody up. Now it has them all running together. The view from Scott Sharp's car. Sharp is currently 15th. Takagi just ahead of Sharp. Castroneves behind him, then Felipe Giafoni.
Castroneves must have lost about 10 spots getting stuck behind Scheckter right now. He's all the way back to 16th.
At 20 car, Jacques Lazier now at the helm of that car. Al Unser Jr., chief spotter for the team.
Jacques Lazier, spoke with him. He's on a race-to-race basis right now. Gave that car a good run in qualifying. Thinks that he'll be able to run up here, maybe close to the top 10. He says, I just want to make it to Milwaukee. Look at Mark Taylor.
Mark Taylor just motored down to the inside. Here comes Scheckter, who seems to be back on pace now. Still no information as to why he had that sudden and somewhat dangerous slowing. Back up at the front of the field, it's still Mira out in front, followed by Rice, his teammate. Tony Kanaan is third. Sam Hornish is fourth. On board with second place Rice.
Saw the downshift right in the middle of the turn. Probably down to fifth, running sixth, maybe going down the straightaway.
Does that tell you how rough it is, just that camera?
How rough it is. We saw the sun glare there in turns 3 and 4. Gets a bit of a draft. Watch the right hand as he just shifted up a gear. Coming up to the tight turn, probably go back down to gear to fifth. He's trying to keep the momentum up right now, Paul. He's trying to keep in the draft of his teammate just up in front. Trying to save on fuel mileage right now. There's that sun glare we spoke about. That'll get worse over the next 15 or 20 minutes for certain. Chose not to go up a gear there. You can hear him running on the rev limiter of the engine. Just that little bobble that you hear is the engine running at 10,300 RPM is the limit.
50 laps now complete, working lap 51, 1/4 of the race. Mira's been running at about 196 miles an hour. Pole speed for his teammate Buddy Rice was at 201, and Mira was right there, similar speed. As expected, Ray Hall Letterman, first 2 positions and running very strong in the Firestone Indy 200 at Nashville. Coming up, we'll talk with Vitor Meira, who give us an insight to this finish 2 weeks ago. We'll be right back. And here at Nashville Superspeedway, it's Meira still in front, followed by Rice, Kanaan, Hornish Jr., and Dan Weldon. Adrian Fernandez back in 9th place as we watch Meira. There comes Fernandez. Another one of the Honda cars.
Remember, this is all new to Fernandez because he started the series late. Started 13th. Worked his way up to 9th.
What's going on with Hornish there? Everybody just went under him. By the way, Meira just turned the fastest lap of the race, 197.8 miles an hour. You know, a couple of the teams, as we keep an eye on Hornish, trying to see what's going on with him, he is able to run a little higher than everybody else, but part of the report on Scheckter may be a chip glitch. Some of the cars have that kind of thing, where just all of a sudden the chip decides it wants to do something different and affect performance of the car.
Well, understanding that there's a black box problem with some of the Chevrolet cars, and we've heard reports that those guys had to look at it late last night. Also spoke with Jacques Lazier. He said the same problem with their car during warm-up yesterday, so that might become more of an issue as the race goes on. We've got contact in turn 4 right now.
And that's Ed Carpenter,
who actually just went right down a lap just a little while ago. So that tells you his car was not working very well for him. One of the 3 rookies at Carpenter.
So So suddenly his performance and his luck has gone from bad to worse.
You know, I spoke with Max Jones, the general manager of the team, and we're talking about crash damage, and he says, you know, we haven't had a very lucky year so far. We are going on close to $1 million in crash damage up to this race so far.
Wow, $1 million. Eddie Cheever's got that too, doesn't he? 62 laps. We're on our third yellow of competition. Obviously, Ed is okay. He climbs out of the car. The Delphi safety team is right there. They'll make sure that nothing gets on the track, though you can see there is some fluid that got on as he got it off the track as fast as he could. Here it is, Scott.
You know, he got to the middle of the turn there, Paul, and the car just started going up the road. So I got to believe there was a mechanical problem because it just shot up. He was not offline. He was down where he should be. And here we can see we're already past that center point, and he's already up hitting the wall. But previous to that, he was exactly where he should be. Car started to go high, right mid-turn, right at the apex. Tells me that something probably broke in the machine.
Well, as Jack Arute mentioned, too, at the start there with the cheese grater demonstration, that when the rubber does come off, it goes higher on the track. So if you have anything that puts you a little higher, you're on the marbles right away.
Well, you're on the marbles. No steering possibility. In our terms, as a driver, we've always said you just become a passenger.
So now they'll have what appears to be a fairly lengthy cleanup, and they will also do their best to get those marbles off the track. That was the promise of the IRL during the drivers' meeting. And it will mean that Mira, Rice, Kanaan, and Weldon remain at the front. Whether it was piloting B-17 bombers or P-38 fighters, Formula One car at the Glen, or a Watson Roadster at Indy, no one was more aggressive than Roger Ward. Roger, a two-time Indianapolis champion, died on July 5th at age 83. His 1960 battle at Indy with Jim Rathman is the kind of stories that grandfathers tell their children. He was most proud of his 2 wins at the Indianapolis 500. In May, his son Roger Jr. let me hold his dad's Indy ring, and shivers ran up my back as I envisioned Roger in his leader-card Roadster sitting tall in the seat and fighting the giant steering wheel in the heavy Offie-powered car into turn 1. All these rear-engine cars you see here at Nashville, well, Roger helped start that rear-engine revolution by testing a Cooper and paving the way. Roger was special, a very special Indy champion. And truly one of the great champions of the sport. We'll all miss Roger. Now, the field comes in, led by Mira. We start with Jamie Little.
Townsend Bell's coming in. Look for them to make a half of a wing adjustment on the front. Tires, fuel. Other than that, he said he's happy with the car. He's already made up 6 positions. Doc?
And the crew just told Sam Hornish, Dan Weldon came on the radio and apologized for pinching him off in turn 2 with Washington spot. Jack Arute?
Gary, no change for the Ray Hall Letterman team outside of 1 point. That's the Buddy Rice pitted a little closer. Less than 8 seconds on that pit stop. This is fast action.
Fernandez makes a big jump as a result. Now they scored Rice is out in the lead, but we'll have to take a look at it because it sure looked to me like the 17 car jumped out first. And Dario Franchitti with a problem. They're going to put it back up on the jacks.
Very strange, not all the way in his pit box. It's usually very busy out there. You can see the front cover is about ready to come off. Jacques Lazier
with a problem as well. They're bringing the car back. So 2 things going on. They say that Jacques Lazier may in fact have a broken axle on that machine. So they brought it back to the Patrick pits, and we'll find out what's going on with Dario in front of his hometown crowd. And we'll start again when we come back.
As Bobby Rahal said on the yellow flag before the last lap, made the best man win. Just don't take each other out. The setup of the cars were almost identical. And as teammates, I mean, you always give a little bit more room than there was other guy beside you. It took like the team 10 seconds to tell me who won, which was like almost an hour. And they told me, buddy, by .0051. And well, I wanted to win. Of course, I wanted to win. But as an individual, as a team, couldn't be better.
he wants to win, and he will, I guarantee you, before this season is over. Vitor Meira currently leads. Well, we have 2 cars now being reported out. Jerry Punch?
Well, unfortunately, Dario Franchitti has stepped out of his ARCA X machine back here in his native Nashville, Tennessee. And Dario, tough break for you. What happened? What made you have to step away?
We just broke first gear. When the car went down off the jacks, I selected first and broke the gearbox. Pretty disappointing.
I saw they pulled the car about 10 feet from us here behind the pits. They're going to try to get you back out because you're so tight in the points?
Well, we're making a decision how many points we would possibly gain by going back out. So it's going to be Kyle Moyer's decision.
All right, they're going to try to work on Dario's car. He currently stands 7th in the standings. Let's check in with Jamie.
Well, Doc, Jacques Lazier finally found a break. We haven't seen him in a car since Indy. And again, the same problem. What happened?
Yeah, unfortunately, leaving the pits there, we broke another axle. So very unfortunate. You know, we'll diagnose the problem and find out exactly what's going on. It's very unfortunate because that last pit stop, we made some changes to the car, and you know, everything was starting to come to us. Unfortunately, you know, there was a little incident over in turn 2, and it kind of got bottled up, and I picked the wrong lane and went to the bottom, and everyone else went high, and you know, a couple people were able to get by us. But you know, it's really too bad because the Patrick Racing Stacker 2 Chevy was definitely getting real good and strong, and we were looking forward to the end of the race.
Hate to see this guy out of the car. Jack?
Jamie, you may wonder why, when the tires only have a few laps on them, the tank is not even half empty, why would all the field come into the pits? Well, I asked Ray Lito that. He's the guy calling the shots for Vitor Meira, and he said, well, we're going to follow the leader. And I said, wait a minute, you are the leader. He said, let me get back to you on the reason. Jerry?
Well, guys, back in Dario Franchitti's pits, Winona Judd here to support her brother-in-law. Yes, he is married to Ashley Judd, talking about Dario Franchitti. And Ashley's been in Thailand for the last 2 weeks on a movie, was trying to be back tonight, but the flights were delayed. She will not get until tomorrow morning, and filling in for her sister is Winona, coming to support Dario Franchitti. Unfortunately, it ended up being an early night for Dario here in Music City, USA. So a tough night for Dario here in his hometown of Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, Winona's not at all happy about that. The chief for that team, the Franchitti team, Dave Popoloritz, is a master at the gearbox, so it looks now like there's nobody really working at the back of the car, so maybe they have, in fact, finally made that decision that just isn't going to work. They're going to put the tires on it so they can take it back to the garage. On board with Darren Manning. Fascinating guy. He is... well, he has the admiration, let me put it that way, of everybody in the field. He's interesting to talk to. We talked to him in Richmond.
If I was worried about everybody else and what everybody else thought, I don't spend all my day in the truck. There's only one thing I want to do, and that's win. And, you know, what I've gone through in my past career, you know, if there's 50-50s, I'm going to be the one that's coming out first, you know. So I scare myself. No, I don't scare myself. Maybe I scare other people around me. That's good. And get out of my way then.
Crashes are why I suggested somewhat tongue-in-cheek why he has the admiration of the field, especially of this guy, Kosuke Matsura, who currently runs in 15th, right behind Tora Takagi. Green flag is coming out to the front of the field, and Vitor Meira is right there and accelerating with Buddy Rice right behind him, but then they show the yellow flag and call off the start. Second time tonight they've done that.
Well, you know, you saw a lot of cars actually starting to pass each other there. They're in the wrong alignment from the last pit stop, so these guys will have to find themselves back in their correct position before they can go green. Will they get it done in one lap? We'll have to find out very quickly.
Well, unfortunately, Ed Carpenter's only finished 2 races this season, and I have to keep talking to you after each race. But what happened here?
We were struggling all weekend, and Meira was coming up to lap me, and just gave him a little room. I mean, you have to respect the leader, and just try tucking in back underneath him, going into 3, and just got in the marbles, and it would never turn.
Well, first year rookie. Morning Chris, hi, guys.
Buddy Rice makes a big try at the back end of his teammate's car. Vitor Meira pulls away, but both Rice and Meira pull away from the rest of the field. Third place currently Fernandez, and everybody wants that. Oh, look at this. There goes Weldon past. You're on board with Manning. He's right there in the middle of it.
Boy, that was a bold move by Manning, especially on tires that are still just a little bit cold. Pressure's maybe not up. We always talked about the best time to pass people is when they're all bunched together on the restart. He took full advantage of that.
Down on the inside, it's Hornish working Kanaan. Leaders, Mira and Rice, have pulled away from the rest of the field. It's gotten tangled fighting with itself.
See a lot of passing coming out of turn 2 right now. If your car is not working going through the turn, you ease off the gas and then get back on it. If you breathe it just a little bit with these new 3-liter engines, you certainly lose momentum, and the other guys will take advantage.
Hornish moved up, trying to find some room on the outside. Manning moved up as well. Now Hornish looks inside.
Now that's a spotter that's in the driver's ear right now, sort of telling the drivers
did not change tires on that stop, Darren.
What's happened with the guy going on behind. You heard Darren said right now, he just heard from his spotter, we did not change tires on that last stop. Just an FYI.
Yeah, that was not really all that subtle, was it? Here comes Hornish down to the inside. A little plead. Darren, please be careful with those tires.
So what that means is that the tires maybe on Hornish's car, if they're brand new, a little fresher, a little bit more grip, able to carry more speed through the turn.
So Hornish now in pursuit of Adrian Fernandez. At the front of the field, look at this. Half a second spacing from first to second. The teammates, Mira and Rice.
Very impressive. Both these cars came off the trailer, Paul, going fast. When I say that, when you're a driver, you put the car on the racetrack. If it works well right away, you know, and you feel confident throughout the whole weekend. If it doesn't, sometimes it never seems to get right through the whole weekend. Both these guys told me, can't believe how fast the car was loaded right off the trailer. That is compliments to the engineers.
Third place is the number 626 Klein Tools car of Dan Weldon. 2 wins this season. There's Fernandez. He's fourth place. As Scott told you earlier, joined the season a little late, but's making up for it now. Hondas occupy the top 4. And then Sam Hornish Jr., first Toyota, won the first race of the season for Marlboro Team Penske. With Darren Manning, nicknamed Danger Mouse, right behind him. There he is, the 10 car for Target Chip Ganassi Racing.
Paul, as we go through these turns, watch up by the track in the wall. There's a blue line that's been painted at the bottom of the wall. The drivers asked for that after the first year running here. Because of the concrete surface and the white wall, it was hard to differentiate at speed at 200 miles an hour exactly where the track finished and the wall begun. So that blue line you see on the right is around every turn around this race course.
You see the 11, the big gulp 7-Eleven car of Tony Kanaan, the current points leader. Occupies 7th position right now. Mira has turned 7 of the top 10 fastest laps, and he's running about 196.4 miles an hour right now with 82 laps complete. Can he keep in front? Well, we'll find out. By the way, don't forget coverage of the ESPYs on Sunday night, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. going to take home that auto racing ESPY. We're at the Firestone Indy 200, Nashville Super Speedway. I'm Paul Page with Scott Goodyear. 89 laps of the 200 are complete. As we approach the halfway point, Vitor Mira has about a half-second lead over his teammate, Buddy Rice. Dan Weldon is in 3rd place, followed by Fernandez, Hornish, Kanaan, and then Manning. You were on board with him just a moment ago. Manning has been the guy to watch the last few laps.
He's been one of the strongest Toyota guys along with Sam Hornish, you know, and asked Darren what he thought of this racetrack. He says, you know, it's rough, but it's fun. So if you're having fun doing something, you got to enjoy it like he's doing right now. Probably one of the reasons he's running so strong.
Number 2 car is now handled by Townsend Bell, his 2nd race in the IRL, and currently runs in 8th, so he's given it a good ride. Brian Herta is back in 9th place just behind this car. Just ahead of him is Darren Manning.
Here we go into the run into turn 1 right now. You enter high, go down towards the low side, easing off the gas just a little bit. Not that long of a straightaway down here on the back stretch, but now you're going to enter this turn 3-4 complex and enter into the D shape, which is up the front. A little bit of sun coming through right now for all the drivers. You hear just a little bit of a lift as he's unsure where he may be into the D shape front oval right now.
That rear bar a little bit more if you need it.
Getting some instructions for the rear bars. I mean, he's complaining about maybe the car not handling well.
Townsend, when you get a run, if you're not up far enough, getting in there to 3, get back out so you don't lose that nose.
That's Tom Sneva, who's the spotter for Townsend Bell, telling him to change the anti-roll bar. There's one front and rear. Changes the handling of the car. Hopefully to improve the handling so he goes quicker through the turn.
That's pretty cool, especially for the scanner crowd as well. That you've got Tom Sneva up there, Pancho Carter up there, and now Al Unser Jr. up, all spotting. And Rick Mears is up there spotting as well.
A neat group, and they get the best view of the house sometimes. You hear him touching the rev limiter just a little bit. This is a great group right here.
Casper Nevis, we talked at starting about the inability of, as we watched Sam Hornish, we talked about the inability of both Penske and Target Chip Ganassi to do well since the first race of the season. The defending series champion and Target Chip Ganassi, and there's Manning's car. Here comes Bell. Herta's just behind them, but it still is amazing, Scott, that Target Chip Ganassi and Marlboro Team Penske aren't doing that well. And you would have, in fact, I think at the start of the season said, well, they're going to walk away with it.
We all presume that simply because of their strength from last year. But when you're a little bit away in horsepower, you start to do different things in the cars. See that lead those guys have right now, Mir and Rice. What a lead over Weldon. Yeah, tells you how strong they're running. Now, getting back to those other guys, Paul, right now when you don't have the horsepower, you start to trim the car out a little bit. Maybe it doesn't have as much downforce, as much grip around the turn, just purely because you're trying to find the speed down the straightaway.
Sharp dropped off the pace just a second ago. He was working pretty hard on Schechter. Then suddenly dropped down and dropped back. There goes Anthony Foyt, AJ the fourth, and Anthony shouldn't be up there.
Yeah, I think Sharp himself ended up in the marbles.
There's what they were worried about in part. The leader's coming through, Vitor Mira. Jack?
Paul, one of the battles within a battle going on up front right now is for Honda's supremacy between Andretti Green Racing and your 1-2 combination here tonight, Ray Hall Letterman Racing. Here's why. Although the motor companies will tell you that everybody gets exactly the same pieces when they go to the truck, that is not the case. Any engine manufacturer will tell you that they've got to take care of the people that are winning the races. The scuttlebutt down here on pit road has been that since Andretti Green Racing leads in the points, Ray Hall Letterman, though, winning as many races as they've had, may be getting just a slightly newer Honda beneath the bonnet of their cars.
Oh, they wouldn't do that, would they? We look at Scott Sharp's Firestone telemetry. That, in fact, has been a, well, you think about this car, one of the Kelly cars, or the Kelly car. As we hit the halfway point, Tom Kelly was somewhat concerned, especially at the Indy 500, that they, too, may not be getting exactly what they think they deserve from the engineers on their engines.
Well, as Jack points out, you know, it's something that is said, but I guess I've lived it myself, and sometimes there is maybe an A and an A+ motor, and I'm not really sure what the engine manufacturers are up to down there, but, you know, there's been a lot of testing going on here recently, and a test just recently at Michigan, and Chevrolet seems to have found a little bit of power for the upcoming Michigan 400, which is in their backyard, so wait for some increase in power for both Toyota and Chevrolet coming up.
Well, right now in the Honda world, Vitor Mira is the first among equals as he starts to come up on traffic. That's Felipe Giafoni just ahead of him. Mira enjoys a 3.2-second lead over Buddy Rice now, the largest lead thus far this evening, and Anthony Foyt on his way into the pits. You go back and look. We may know why. Let's look at the rear wing. So look at, it looks like it's delaminating over there.
Yeah, just on the very right-hand side that started to come apart. So debris may have hit that and started to make it delamitate. But it certainly needs to get in.
And A.J. Foyt can come up and thank Buddy Rice for finding that wing problem. When Rice put A.J. the fourth down, he radioed to his crew, get to the Foyt team and tell them that their grandson has a wing with the end fence coming off. They did, and that's why he pulled in.
And now they're working on the solution. IRL officials said you got to do something about that, so the answer is just to tear it off. Probably put a piece of tape on that, because I'm assuming that the wind going over that end plate would just encourage further delamination. Mira, Rice, Weldon, the top three in the Firestone Indy 200. Don't forget after, Scheckter goes into the wall just as we come back, brings the yellow out. Drifted right up into the wall. Thomas Scheckter. Well, we talked about the fact that it gets slicker the closer you get to the wall. Thomas Scheckter lost it during practice, did a quick spin, saved the car. We saw the quick move by the 13 car come down on the inside of him, Mark Taylor, and then all of a sudden it was just a gentle nudge and then slammed the wall.
And you don't get much time to retrieve or actually collect the car, Paul, because of the surface, not much grip, and certainly once you're up in those marbles, you're along for the ride.
Well, that alone shows you what a miserable year it's been for Thomas Scheckter.
But he's been fast. Anytime he's got up to the front, some brilliant moves, some great driving, but absolutely no luck.
So they go to work on Thomas Schecter's car. Jerry Punch, if you're with us, there is some indication that there may in fact be another gearbox problem. Can you update us on that for the moment?
Exactly, Paul. A moment ago, Brian Herta complained he has lost fifth gear. Remember, earlier we saw Dario Franchitti have a gearbox problem on pit road. Now the second Andretti Green car complains of a gearbox problem, and now Herta without fifth gear. It shouldn't be a problem on a pit stop, but it is a problem coming up to speed and trying to work traffic here at Nashville.
Well, maybe they can take a look. Let's go back and look at Thomas Schecter's situation, along with the team, by the way.
Now just running a little bit high through the D-shaped oval right now. Soon as the 13 car of Taylor comes down, he leaves him high. He's actually on those rubber marbles that we talked about, which is just almost the cheese grating of the tires coming off. The rubber itself coming off. See how slow he is? He just can't turn. You can't do anything about it. We talked about crash damage with Cheever's team. These guys told me just today that they're already up to about $500,000 worth of crash damage with this team so far this year.
Jamie Little.
You guys just can't find a break. You're either running right up there, or you guys just DNF. What happened there?
Well, I don't know. It looks to me, I haven't seen the replay, but it sounds to me like he just got out on the high groove, and there's really no grip out there. So once you get out there, you're just kind of holding on. And we've been making some adjustments with the cars, and I think those adjustments were made when we were running up front. It's made it a little bit harder to run in the back, so it's a little difficult. We've had 3 good years, and now all our bad luck's kind of hitting us in 2004.
Do you think that's driver error? Is that the car? It seemed like during the race he was taking it high the whole time, worrying you guys a little bit.
Well, Thomas has done a great job for us all year. I don't think, he's trying everything he can to get that car back up front. We had the leaders chasing us from behind. We had to go forward, so he was doing the best he could.
All right, Doug. Well, the good news is we're only halfway through. There's 8 races to go. Guys?
Well, and the IRL officials have cautioned the drivers, if the leaders are coming up on you, get out of the way. So Thomas may just have been sensing that and trying to get out of the way. Of course, you step too far to the right, it's a big problem.
Well, difficult. I'm sure if he replays that back in his mind right now, he might not do the same type of move and leave just a little bit too much room. But like you say, once you're up there and you're out of that groove, if your car's not working very well, sounds like maybe theirs was not, you don't have that opportunity to drag it down low and stay in the low groove.
Fans are loving it. Standing room only crowd here in Nashville as the sun begins to set, and that's going to be right in to the eyes of the drivers. Don't forget, we'll have coverage of the ESPYs tomorrow night, 2004 ESPY Awards at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Guys, give a call to popular Mexican driver Adrian Fernandez. His best finish this year has been 5th. Now he's running 4th right now and says the car is getting better and better as the night goes on. It began loose, and this track gets tighter as the night moves on, so his car is getting better. He comes down pit road at 60 miles per hour, and John Ward and company said they will change nothing whatsoever on the car because the car is getting so much better. As you watch Adrian come in, let's check in down pit road with Jackaroo.
Well, Jerry, just 10 yards separate the Ray Hall Letterman teammates. No major change, but there's a problem with Vitor Mira. He was waved out. Shades of Dan Weldon's problem. Now Mira has stalled the car. Buddy Rice, meanwhile, a flawless pit. Oh, my. Vitor Meira trying to stay calm in the car. They're telling him to refire it. You hear it. Costly mistake.
You're right. All right, no problem. No panic here, guys. No panic.
And remember, too, that in Kansas they had the same problem, but it was a quick recovery then for Vitor Meira. This time, that was devastating. Take a look at the right front. And there's the wave out, but there is still a vent hose connected.
The vent hose you talk about, Paul, right there, still connected. Good thing that he stopped again, otherwise you pulled over a tank, possibly much like Weldon did last week.
And in the first races of the season, then they have to go back and get the car started again. A lot of issues now.
Now he's a report that he's got a loose wheel.
Take your time.
Because guys are probably in a rush to get him out in the pit stop. We talk about pressure on drivers, Paul. There's a lot of pressure on the team right now, especially when you're running up front. If you can shave a half a second off your pit stop, know you get your driver out in front of everybody else. So crucial here because track position is so crucial to win this race.
Plenty of time. Take a look at
And
everything,
Scott,
guys.
it's just changing and tightening those right side wheels. You can see they're doing it very, very steadfast. And that sound is frustration, fellas, as he revs the Honda.
Vitor, who had this race totally under control, and then all of a sudden disaster in the pit puts him well back in the field, and his teammates on point. Yeah, coverage with Jamie Little coming up on the 25th. Don't miss it. That's a pretty insightful view of a lot of these guys, and they are fascinating individuals. Jamie Little.
Well, Townsend Bell is having a great race. You guys, he qualified 12th. Already he's moved up to, I believe, 5th place, and they're making up their time in their pit stops. They've gained positions, all 3 pit stops. So way to go. There's high fives all around.
Rice, Weldon, Hornish, Kanaan, and then this car, the 2 car of Townsend Bell. It has not been, though, as he got going, the best of times. Remember Townsend's Bell day at Kansas City?
Unfortunately, we had a fire extinguisher go off. There was some corrosion in the tank, and a little pinhole formed and started to leak. So I couldn't see and had to slow down, and just more and more foam just kept coming and coming and coming, and we got it cleaned up and stayed out, and then lost the traction control. We had a failure in pit lane, and it's almost crashed in pit lane. And we finished 12 laps down, but you know, we could run with just about anybody, even though our race was over at that point.
Well, there's Townsend Bell, who will come back to the green flag in 5th place. Vitor Meira led until his incident in the pit just a moment ago. And take a look at his teammate Buddy Rice leads him back. It's Rice, Weldon, Hornish, Kanaan. Kanaan moves to the outside. Back in the field, keeping track of Vitor Meira as well. Got side by side with Alex Barron.
The big difficulty when you're in the back, there's so much going on as we see right now. 3, 4 wide. You got the spotters in your ear all the time telling you high, low.
Look at Meira on the outside. He takes him 3 wide on a track they say only has 1 lane. But that little gaggle right there is one of the reasons you want to be in front.
I'll tell you what, look at a guy that is so focused, that's confidence, Paul, in your race car, that you can actually put it exactly where you want it. He went high, came down low, knew he had to be on the bottom side of the racetrack through the turns. Collecting a draft right now from Manning, gonna go around the high side of him. See Manning's trying to push him high. Meira, no part of it. I gotta get down to the low side of the racetrack by the turns. I can't risk being on the 2nd lane. Look at how Pole right now.
I'll take you back just 1 lap in the restart. Now watch this.
Last car in your shot right now, going on the outside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And they said it couldn't be done. That is one serious race driver. Meira's now moved up to 8th place.
Very quiet individual, very focused, very deep in thought whenever you talk to him. And he said to me today, he said, you know, A great finish last week, but I need to win.
Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, Vitor Meira told his crew that was exactly what he was going to do. They apologized for the problems they had. He said, not to worry. I'll pass a bunch of cars in the first few laps, and then we can make it up on the next stop. He seems to be doing just that.
Ever the sportsman, Scott Sharp moves high, lets Meira down on the inside. Mark Taylor was trying to follow Meira through the field. That would be a very good move. The 13th.
Get in a nice rhythm here. There's a gap to the next guy. Take your time. It's Helio next.
Just take a few deep breaths. Buddy Rice with traffic. Felipe Giafone. Hornish Jr. got around Weldon, now up in second place.
Wow, that is so close. Remember, that's 195, 200 miles an hour.
Look at Kanaan. He came in behind Giafone. Now goes to the inside of Weldon.
Weldon getting hung up in some lap traffic, easing off the throttle, lost the momentum.
Boy, that was just sweet anticipation by Tony Kanaan.
But you know, Hornish has actually got around those guys, and now he's in second with his sights on Rice.
You know, you've talked, Scott Goodyear, many times about how far ahead you're actually looking to be able to make a move like that.
Well, this racetrack, because it's very tricky, you're almost setting drivers up in turns 3 and 4. It's what you do in those turns that will give you the pass in turns 1 and 2, or the opposite way around. Set it up in 1 and 2 if you can get it done in 3 and 4.
23.9. Nice work.
No surprise here. Meira has been the fastest the last 3 laps, running at 197.5 miles an hour to the leader's 196.
Remember, Kansas, 9 out of the top 10 fastest laps probably coming from Meira.
With Hornish in second place, the Penske team now working hard to help him and make sure he stays there. But here comes Tony Kanaan. So will Tony Kanaan be able to catch and pass Hornish Jr.? And will anybody be able to pass Buddy Rice? Continues to be on a tear. His teammate is the leader, Buddy Rice, the Indy 500 champion. Meira, with Taylor in tow, was able to get around Adrian Fernandez and is now closing in on Helio Castroneves.
Paul, both the Rahal Letterman team guys right now, 196 miles an hour for Rice and Meira. Everybody else is running 194. Rice is pulling away from Hornish, and Meira just continues to close in on the traffic in between them.
And Rice, though, has picked up the pace as well. He was quickest last time around at 196.7. Nice clear race course in front of him.
Let's listen to see if he has to lift off the throttle at all. Not very much. An improvement from where the car was earlier today. Probably making some changes during the pit stops.
You got about 3 seconds on Hornish.
You can see the lights just illuminating on the top of his steering wheel. Those tell him exactly where the RPMs are on the engine, and then he knows when to shift. 196.4 miles an hour average last time around.
There's Buddy Rice and the lead that he has on second place, Sam Hornish, and then Hornish got everybody behind him. Further back in the field, Vitor Meira is now closing up on Castroneves. Third place, Kanaan. Weldon is fourth place. There he comes. Then Townsend Bell.
For the Panther team, one of their best runs probably all year right now for that team. And here I'm just working the throttle a little bit. Remember, he's behind those 3 cars in front of him right now, getting some of that dirty air off those cars, which disturbs the aerodynamics of the car, makes your car handle maybe not perfectly.
We've seen some vibration apparent in the onboard camera. This looks pretty steady. Of course, part of that is also how the system is attached by the individual teams. You may actually see more turbulence out of the camera than you actually are feeling in the car. The best place to look is on the steering wheel. We're expecting stops to come up very shortly here, so we're going to try to clear the way for him. 140 laps complete. Scott Remke is wondering if Roger Penske's car is going to catch him. Let's give you a little bit of the race summary for the IRL IndyCar Series here in Nazareth. Right on the start, Vitor Meira jumped from the outside of the front row down inside his teammate and took the lead. We've had 4 cautions, 2 for debris. This was Ed Carpenter, who just pushed up into the wall. It's very slick when you get offline. On the 110th lap, the same thing happened to Thomas Scheckter. Those 2 cars obviously out of competition. Vitor Meira leading the race had this problem in the pits, left, or at least tried to leave a little bit early. The vent hose was still connected, and that cost him dearly. As a result, Meira is now in 6th place. He just got around Helio Castroneves and is coming up behind Townsend Bell to challenge him for 5th. This was the move a few laps ago on Helio Castroneves. Meira, who has easily been the fastest car on the course, even in traffic, but now his teammate Buddy Rice coming into traffic. Meira just turned the fast of all 3 of the fast 3 cars at 195 miles an hour. He's been up to 198.
Impressive run right now. You've got that feeling in your gut, Paul. You just want to get back up to the front. We talked about the confidence that he has right now. He's going to look in the low side, go right underneath Bell. A nice clean move. He just makes the move, commits to it, and powers through. And you know something? When you're as fast as Meira is right now, the guys know that he's coming up. They see him in the mirror. They know they probably can't hold him off.
Or they can't believe it. Meira, the man on a mission now. He has Dan Weldon 4th place ahead of him.
Probably expect a little bit more of a fight out of Dan Weldon and Kanaan maybe than he did from Bell. Now his work right now is to try and set these guys up. A couple of cars in front of him running together. He's going to get that disturbed air that we talked about. This will really tell us whether his car is handling well enough in traffic for him to march all the way past these guys.
His teammate, Buddy Rice, the leader, is only 7 seconds in front of him. There's Rice. He runs alone. 6.5 of those seconds are open space back to 2nd place, Sam Hornish. And then Hornish, Kanaan, Weldon, Meira, they all close on one another and run together. There's that interval.
Now, I spoke to Buddy a little bit earlier today, and I was talking to him about he's going to go to the White House on Monday and visit President Bush. And I asked him what he thought about that, and he just looked at me, smiled, and says, cool, man.
Yeah. When Rick Mears went to the White House, visited President Reagan.
Back in the early 90s.
And how impressed he was. I mean, imagine what it's like going to the White House.
Actually, they're taking the race-winning car from the track, the Indianapolis 500, along with the Borg Warner Trophy, is going to be out in the front lawn at the White House. That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. As suggested, Meira going to have a little harder time handling up Dan Weldon. In the meantime, down in the Ray Hall Letterman pits, Jack Aruta's watching.
Yeah, and I'm with Scott Remke, who has to have not only called Buddy Rice's race today, but with Bobby Rahal not in attendance, he's overseeing everything. I know you got to pull for Buddy, but what about the performance by Vitor Meira, carving back up through the pack?
Yeah, it's quite a show he's putting on, and you know, he's not done yet. It's obviously going to come down. He's going to make it to the front before it's all over.
We're looking at 1 pit stop for these 2 teams.
Yeah, we got 1 more coming in about 20 laps.
Well, strap on your seatbelt, folks. That's going to be wild.
Coming in 20 laps. That would seem like a long time.
Yeah,
it's been 41 laps since, well, everybody in the front made the pit. Meira, though, he's a guy that when he wants something, he just goes for it. That's how he got this job at Ray Hall Letterman. He showed up 6:30 in the morning at the shop in Columbus and just camped on the doorstep after they announced that there was a ride available. Buddy Rice, the Indianapolis 500 champion, 155 laps complete, out in front. It's an intense period for the IRL IndyCar Series. Next week, it's the Milwaukee Mile in the Milwaukee A.J. Foyt Indy 225. That's Sunday, July 25th, and the coverage is on ABC Sports. at 3:30 Eastern. Here's Dixon, currently 10th, reigning series champion, but he's not been able to put anything together this year.
Running very close to his teammate right now. You know, all three of those guys, Dixon and Manning and Schechter, all hang out during the week on their boats. Do a little knee surfing, tubing, water skiing.
That shows you, I think, more how troublesome this race is for the 8 car of Scott Sharp.
Watch Fernandez. See that wiggle right there?
And they go yellow, and there's a car against the wall coming off at 2, and it's Herta.
Unfortunate for Herta, but a guy that wants that right now would be Fernandez. He needs some changes on his car.
Yeah.
All these contacts, Paul.
Backed up and I pushed out.
Yeah, I was going to say, all these contacts are from pushing out, just as Brian said, probably getting on those marbles. You're only seeing right side damage. The cars are not spinning to the left. Now look at this left front of his. You see that tire right there, flat spotted? I'll tell you what, he's probably turned around and tried to slow that thing down in a hurry. Just flat spotted that tire, that big flat patch that's there right now.
You know, in fact, the marbles have gotten so bad up in the high groove that you've been able from time to time to see from those cameras mounted right on the wall. You can actually see the marbles, and that's a lot of slick when you get out there.
You know, actually you can see how rough the tires look, certainly. And right now you can see this area right here that we're looking at on the tire itself. You can see how rough it is all through here. Usually those tires are completely smooth because they are a slick tire. You don't need treaded tires here on this particular course because more slick area, you actually have more contact area going on for more grip.
So from Scott Sharp's onboard.
See, the
pushes out.
Absolutely. The second car on your screen right now, just a little high behind the cars that are in front of him, probably trying to get some clean air because his car is not working well for him, and just got a little bit high.
You've said it many times that to just become a passenger. So we're expecting what will be the last stop of this race.
Back at Nashville Super Speedway, leaders on pit road under yellow. What should be the final pit stop of the day scheduled. Sam Hornish in, not a single change. Hornish's car getting better and better. Let's check in with Jack LaRue.
Well, Jerry, they asked if Buddy Rice wanted any changes. He shouted out of there, no changes. Not to him, but Dan Weldon is out first.
Way out. Weldon beats Rice, Sam Hornish, and Tony Kanaan out in what should be the final pit stop of the race. The 165th lap. They should have plenty of tire and certainly plenty of fuel. Weldon moves forward. That drops Rice, Hornish, Kanaan all backwards.
Mir also not getting a great stop on that one. Did such a great job working through traffic to get himself up there. A slow stop for him for whatever reason. Brings him back quite a few spots.
Mira in 5th.
Actually back to 9th right now.
9th now.
Went in 5th, came out on 9th.
So Weldon with a great in and out. Leads the field out. We'll be back with more.
Back in Nashville, Tennessee, and a big gutsy call down here in Dan Weldon's pit. And Dan Weldon came out of the pit road first because these guys behind me, Tony Kottman and Michael Andretti, opted not to change a single tire. Why? Tony Kottman said, if we come out 4th or 5th, the track position is so difficult you cannot pass. So I'm going to roll the dice. We're going to come out first and see if they can catch us. And if they win this race, guys, they will have run 87 laps on these Firestone Firehawks. How about that for great tires? Let's check in with Jack.
Well, Jerry, the woes on pit road continue for Vitor Meira. On that stop, this is the air gun that's used on the left front tire. Whether it was a wheel nut or the fact that the direction wasn't in the proper way, it took them precious, valuable seconds to get that left front wheel off. The end result, well, precious time lost on pit road. Now Meira is going to have to carve his way back to the front yet again. Let's check in further down pit road with Jamie Little. Jamie?
Well, just before Townsend Bell came in, you guys, he said, oh my gosh, I just almost hit the emergency truck. He said, it is so slick out here. My car's pushing. He came in, he got a new set of tires, fuel, and they made a small wing adjustment, and he's on his way.
And Vitor Mira, you saw, scored up with the target fastest lap of the race. Here's what Townsend Bell was talking about. Whoa, you're not kidding. Run for cover. Here comes Townsend.
Tell you about the heart rate going up there, boys.
Good reports from Jamie, Jack, and Jerry, our 3 J's in the pit coverage. Dan Weldon, they're going to take a big gamble. You saw Tony Kottman manages that team, and Michael Andretti. Let's listen.
Man, I almost took out the frickin' truck. It's really slippery up there.
Yeah, that's right, you did, and it is.
When he entered in the turn, Paul, he was just not right down by the bottom, about a car width above the lower line, and still, we talked about how slippery it is there, all those marbles on the race course. He certainly found out. I bet you he'll be on the bottom for the remainder of the whole race.
Well, and remember that at that point, the yellow had been on for a while. I mean, the trucks are up there. He was going slow to start with, and still.
And don't remember, his only second race.
Michael Andretti, the team that is the most dominant in this sport right now, leading the championship. Scott Goodyear had a chance to go by the shop.
Thanks, Paul. Let me start by making a profound understatement. The drivers and the team owners in the IndyCar series are filled with pride, bravado, and yes, the E word, ego. Now, it's not uncommon to have 4 drivers part of an endurance team, but 4 drivers part of an IndyCar series team, well, that can present its challenges. Let's go inside and see the guys here at Andretti Green Racing to see how they meet those challenges. Oh, and for the record, when I drove, I never had a problem with ego. Kim, we're all about speed in the Indy Racing League Series, so we're going to play a word association game. So here we go. Michael Andretti.
Partner.
Tony Kanaan.
Prankster.
Dario Franchitti.
Scotsman.
Danny Weldon.
Prankster.
Brian Herta.
Hey, prankster.
You got a lot of pranksters here.
Certainly.
Ego.
None of them.
We're with Kyle Moyer, the general manager of Andretti Green Racing. Kyle, we're going to play a word association game today. I'm going to give you a name and just give me your thoughts. Kim Green.
Patient.
Dario Franchitti.
Whiner.
Danny Weldon.
Rookie.
Brian Herta.
Prankster.
Tony Kanaan.
Loud.
Teamwork.
Important.
We're with Tino Belli, who's the technical director for Andretti Green Racing. Tino, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions in a word association game. You can give me some quick answers.
Sure.
Kyle Moyer.
Mr. Fix-It.
Tony Kanaan.
Gutsy.
Dario Franchitti.
Mr. Cool.
Danny Weldon.
The Indianapolis 500.
Brian Herta.
Smooth.
Okay. How do you take all 4 guys that you have right now and maybe curtail them on a weekend? How does that work for you guys?
Well, you know, what's so great is they get on so well. They're friends. They realize that working together is going to make better race cars, give them each individually a better chance to win a race, and they'll race each other fairly on the racetrack.
You have done a wonderful job this year putting all 4 drivers on the track competitively. What's your secret to teamwork for this team?
And the secret here is really the 3 owners. First off, it starts with them. They give us the essential so that we need to do this. The biggest thing is we can go out and hire the best people.
Team orders, is there any?
No, there's no team orders.
Last race of the season, driver has a chance to win a championship. The other driver is leading. That driver has to win the race. Team orders?
Well, to be honest, that could come into play. It did come into play last year with Tony Kanaan going for the championship. And we make sure that we've got sponsors that know about that, because we've got different sponsors on each race car, and they need to be a part of that decision.
Now, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I'm going to ask you, of your 4 drivers, which one is the fastest?
That would have to be...
Which one has the most fun on the team?
I think that's...
And who plays the biggest pranks?
Well, for sure, that's...
And your favorite driver out of all 4?
Michael Andretti.
A good answer.
No question.
If you've just joined us, the Diamond Bar track.
Well, as the sun sets at the Nashville Super Speedway, the Firestone Indy 200 with 174 laps complete. Anthony Foyt was just brought into the pits on the end of a tow rope. We're still under the caution and the pace truck bringing the field around. There's Anthony Foyt in the pits after they brought him in. No indication as to what might have happened here, but the car just rolled to a stop over in turn 3.
He's been off the pace a lot tonight, Paul. He was actually about 8 laps down, now 9 laps down. not a real hurry going on here, so you got to feel that maybe you're going to make a few changes, get him back out, just gain some experience at this race course.
And for all these teams that have had incidents with the wall, Brian Herta being the latest, remember it's only a 1-week turnaround for these crews before we race on the Milwaukee Mile. It's going to be a bit of a problem, and they're going to have some hurried work to do. Jerry Punch?
And guys, they've warned Dan Weldon about the restart here with those used tires with all the rubber buildups. And you got to be very careful about the pickup. And Danny said, I'm going to deactivate the traction control so I don't spin the tires here on the restart. So a lot of concern here about watching the restart on this 26 car.
Jamie Little.
Well, guys, we heard Chip Ganassi decided to take a big gamble there with Scott Dixon. They didn't change any tires on that last stop. And as you were saying, there's a lot of pickups, so you got to watch it. They're taking a big gamble, and he made up about 5 spots. He's now running in 6th.
So the gamble being taken by Scott Dixon and Dan Weldon. For Dan Weldon, not changing tires puts him at the front of the field with 1 lap now to go before we go back to green. At least he's got track position if they get into another yellow, if he can stay in front.
Paul, I don't think it's going to work for him. I know he's fast. He's got the Honda power. But right now, Rice is so quick that I got to believe the used tires, and as we said, they'll be 87 laps old when you come to the checker here. I got to believe that with all the power that Rice has, and as well as his car is working right now, with fresh tires, he's not going to be long before it goes around.
No intimidation there from Rice at all, is there? As he climbs up on the back end of Weldon, green flag comes out, and they go back to running. Here he comes. Outside. They touch Rice. They keep it under control. Oh, that's unbelievable. Phenomenal damage to the right front wing on Rice's car, but I can't believe that they touch like that and they keep the cars under control.
All that almost 200 miles an hour. What an impressive drive by all those drivers.
I've never seen anything like that. They turn the yellow on.
Now the guy that's liking this is going to be Mira. Gets himself moved up a little bit. Rice is going to have to come in for a pit stop, change that right front wing. It's folded into the suspension. You can see it there. What they'll do is they'll take the whole complete nose section off and give him a new nose section, but he's certainly going to end up losing positions.
There it is as Rice moves to the inside. Weldon, there's room there. Then Weldon comes down.
See, he hit him a second time and knocked him straight.
How do you do that? They touched all the way through that corner.
And you just don't see that open wheel racing all on a restart close to 200 miles an hour. I can't believe that.
Well, what about Hornish there? He doesn't get affected by it. He goes down to the inside and tries to get past him. And Alex Barron climbs out of the car in the pits. His day apparently over. Former winner here at Nashville Speedway.
At least that one's rolling back on the trailer. Not something that happens very often so far this year for the folks at Cheever Racing.
Ray Hall Letterman with a new nose waiting for Buddy Rice's car, and the Klein tools on the left side of Dan Weldon's car all but obscured by that contact, and his teammate Tony Kanaan up alongside. Here comes Rice. I wonder if he's got somebody else's parts there too as well.
Well, no, it looks like he might have something sitting up there.
We're going to change the 2 front tires and the front wing.
You heard the call. Change the 2 front tires as well as the front wing. Smart move with the kind of action that was underway there. It shouldn't take them very long. It's a simple fix to remove the entire front assembly. It's already off. The tires have been changed as well. The key is for Buddy Rice to remain calm, cool, and collected, because now he's going to have to take up his position at the back end of the field. The team has gone to work. They've completed their work. And now Buddy Rice goes back to work.
Yeah, they've done some engineering work on the noses on these cars because they are the most vulnerable, especially the way these guys tend to get side by side, so they can do that quick change on the nose.
Just that rubber mark that's on the side pod of Danny Weldon's car. Probably no damage there.
And Dixon, by the way, came in and changed tires, so it's now only Weldon back to the 113th lap since he has changed tires on a track that has a reputation for gobbling them up.
that's why I said I just couldn't believe that Weldon would be able to stay in front, and it showed on the restart where Rice was able to put the power down and actually get the speed going into turn 1.
Hey guys, Danny Weldon's great to have a teammate there. But Tony Kanaan pulled up behind him and pulled high and pulled low and looked at Dan Weldon's car to give Danny a report on the race car. And also the spotter looked at the front of the car, Kanaan looked at the back, and Dan Weldon said the car is feeling pretty good.
And now Tony Kanaan, as the green comes out, taking a hard look at Weldon. Looks to the outside. Hornish starts in behind Weldon and then comes out around Kanaan.
What a bold move by Bell, right down on the lower lip of the track.
And he stays down there too. Danny gets torched way high. Now Castroneves is looking. Look at Mira. He's in the middle of all this too.
And Bell got caught on that because he had to turn around and get out of the throttle because of Weldon.
Jackaroot.
Paul, there's a problem with Vitor Mira's car. It seems to be stuck in 4th gear. Not a gearbox problem, they say, as much as the gear lever itself. The lever won't move at all. So this is a tough break for Mira, the teammate to Buddy Rice.
And Jack, they think Danny Weldon may have a flat right rear tire. He just said, I think the right rear is going down, so they're getting ready in the pits to possibly bring him on pit road.
Oh, look at it. The right rear just totally went away. And remember how long they'd been out on that. No yellow. Now they bring out the yellow flag. So that gamble just wasn't worth it.
Tried to run the tire when it was soft with no air pressure in it, and it actually loses the carcass right completely from the rim.
Well, and he totally, I mean, he was skating on that tire, so he gave that tire more abuse when he got in and alongside Rice.
You know, amazing when you think about that. That's all happening just around 200 miles an hour.
So Dan Weldon shreds the right rear, gives the lead over on the restart to his teammate, Tony Kanaan, the current points leader. But Hornish and Manning now sit in 3rd place. Castroneves is 4th. Toyota is on the attack. Can they stay there? And if you've tuned in for the Great Outdoor Games coverage, it will be coming up as soon as the race is over here. The Great Outdoor Games presented by Dodge. I particularly recommend the large agility, small agility, and super weave, but then I'm prejudiced toward that. Ready to go, green flag racing once again.
Castroneves did a smart move, had the momentum to go around Manning as soon as they called the green.
And maybe enough to go around his teammate, Sam Hornish. Kanaan goes way wide on the entry.
I really expected Hornish to get a better restart.
They will not catch you.
There's a way to give a guy confidence. Don't worry, they won't catch you.
Well, right now they know they have the car, they have the power plant. Clear track ahead, probably shouldn't see much traffic for at least maybe to lap 195. I say that, and there's a car just up in front.
Well, that's Dan Weldon, who, remember, with his shredded tire and everything, had to come in, effect a little repair to the right rear bodywork on the car.
And Hornish looks like he's getting stronger. Once the race is continuing here for the next couple of laps, watch for him to make a move.
And so what about that? They're not going to catch him. Hornish has caught him.
Well, the key thing now, if they have to go past Weldon, will Weldon let Kanaan by easily and then hold up the 2 Toyota-powered cars, those red and white cars of Team Penske?
Only 10 laps to go now. So can Dan Weldon get in a position to help his teammate, Tony Kanaan?
Well, he could do, but I can assure you that Brian Barnhart, the chief steward that watches up top here, will be watching to make sure none of that happens.
Not much gets past Barnhart. Tony Kanaan continues to try to hold off Sam Hornish and Elio Castroneves.
Paul, everybody's standing up here. 50,000 people this grandstand holds, and these guys are all standing up right now.
Darren Manning is also closing in from 4th place. Last time around, though, it was Buddy Rice, now 6th, that turned the fastest lap at 197 miles an hour.
There you go. Watch this. Weldon on the right-hand side completely gets out of the way for everybody. Great sportsmanship there. He's not going to affect the outcome of this race, even though his teammate's leading.
If you've tuned in for the Great Outdoor Games presented by Dodge, they'll be coming up right after our coverage here. Stay with it, though. We're working on a great finish in the Indycar series.
And Paul, you talk about a great finish. How many times has the race been won?
Good job.
Right from turn 4 to the finish line. The key thing I'm going to watch for here right now is that if Hornish can get beside Kanaan, wait for his teammate Castor Neves to get in behind Hornish to help push him along, to maybe give him that little oomph that he needs to lead at the line.
2 weeks ago, the IRL IndyCar Series had the second closest finish in its history, about 4 inches. Buddy Rice over Mira.
Kim Green on the radio to Tony Kanaan, telling him 5 to go.
+1 and Hardy.
He doesn't need that time interval, Paul. I'd tell you, you can feel it. You don't even need to look in the mirrors.
Last thing I want in the mirrors is Sam Hornish, especially a hungry Sam Hornish. 4 to go. You heard the call.
This is where you see in your mirrors the object is closer than it appears. That's what Tony Kanaan's seeing now.
Yeah, that object is way too close. Kanaan leads them onto the backstretch. Now they do have clear course in front of them. Top 4 are all together.
196 miles an hour. These guys are running. They're flat out, no lifting.
Cross the line again. 3 laps to go. 197th complete. It's anybody's guess still. Kanaan, Hornish, Castor Neves, and Darren Manning.
Now, Kanaan doesn't look like he gets off at turn 2 as well.
Hornish is looking pretty good off of 2. Don't let him get underneath of you. He's also pretty good going into 3.
Yeah, we hit it right now. Kanaan's running a little bit high on the exit of 2. Enters in high into 1, and they can already spot it. The spotters told him, and that's where Hornish is getting his run.
That's where the spotters help as well. On the backstretch, it'll be white flag out next time by for Tony Kanaan. Hornish is right there.
1 to go. Bring it on, Mike.
1 to go now. Tony Kanaan. If Hornish is going to make a move, it will have to be at the end of this long backstretch.
Watch for him to slice underneath, and
he moves to the high side, drops back in. Now Hornish going to try down to the inside.
What some blocking going on by Tony Kanaan.
And Tony Kanaan keeps him back, finishes ahead of Hornish, Castor Neves, and Manning. Townsend Bell in 5th place. Buddy Rice manages 6th. Vitor Mira in 12th. And Kanaan increases his lead by 61 points over Dan Weldon. There's the order of finish. Tony Kanaan keeps his points lead with the win. Great finish for Hornish and Castor Neves. Darren Manning, Townsend Bell. That's a wonderful finish. And look at Mark Taylor down there in 7th place. Don't forget the great outdoor games coming up next. In 1 week on ABC Sports, we'll be at the famous Milwaukee Mile for the A.J. Foyt Indy 225. I'm Paul Page for all the gang here. We'll see you next week.
This has been